bear with me, because this is going to be a lot, and I'm going to go really fast. Hey YouTube, welcome back to SIBZ, West Coast, East Coast siblings. You guys, since my review of You has gotten a little all over the place with Christiana's personal emergency and all of that stuff, I've decided to just review the whole second half of the show. The last episode that I reviewed for you guys was 3 and 4. So I'm just going to give you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all in one big swoop. Format for this, we're going to do the most important points of each episode, and then we'll get into some review and I'll ask you guys some discussion questions. So the biggest takeaway in episode 5 is that Hendy has been declared murdered now, as opposed to what the cops originally thought was a suicide. Joe's freaking out. Takeaways from this episode is that Joe and Love they tell each other that they love each other, and they have this whole united front and this whole it's actually a really cute scene, even though Joe is a psycho. What's important to note is that Ellie, after she finds out about Hendy's having molested Delilah, they have this heart-to-heart, they cut up the pictures together, they throw them in the toilet, and they're united again as sisters. No beef between them. The next important thing about this episode is that we find out a little bit more about Candace and why she didn't go to the police immediately after she kind of, the living dead crawls up out of the grave. Basically, the cops don't believe her. She doesn't have any proof, and they're not going to waste the time. That's why Candace is sort of on this one-woman mission to get Joe, put him in jail for the rest of his life because he is a murderer. Now we're going to get into episode 6. Now, the most important thing to take away from episode 6, Delilah and Joe do the do. I don't know about, Joe, for, a creepy guy, he is sleeping with a lot of women. Can I blame these ladies? I don't know. And they sort of sleep together while Delilah is trying to put together a piece to tell her story about what happened to her via Hendy. She's frustrated and sad, and Joe comforts her. That's probably the biggest thing to take away from episode 6. Now, other important things that we need to note. Love had a creepy conversation with Candace in episode 5 that kind of put up some trigger warning. She was a little weird. She's like, this doesn't feel right. So she got her parents' PI to follow Candace around. Candace is breaking into Joe's apartment. Love catches her red-handed. Candace completely comes clean. She's like, listen, this dude is a psycho. This guy's gonna kill you. If he loves you, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to you because he's probably gonna kill you. She didn't say it like that, but that's the gist of their conversation. Love is disturbed. She's freaked out. She confronts him. He says, I'm sorry. He has this really, cute speech, which is here he goes again, laying on the charm pretty thick. When she's like, I don't even know what to call you anymore. Are you Joe? Are you Will? And he says, call me all these wonderful, romantical, sweet things. And it's we should also probably call you a murderer. Anyway, so that happens. They break up. And that is also what kind of sends Will into Delilah's arm. Moving on. Most important thing to take away from episode 7 would be D. Sorry, in my notes I have Delilah just says D. Delilah finds Will's creepy Silence of the Lambs clear box. All heck is finning to break loose. So now we're all a little bit worried. What's going to happen to Delilah? Will doesn't have a great record of people finding the box and not killing them. So some other important things to take away from episode 7 is that Will and Love have broken up. Will and Delilah sleep together again and get arrested. They get arrested for doing the do in an alley. I mean, is there no class? My goodness. Love is with some new dude. I don't know how long it's been since Will and Love broke up, but Love is with some other dude now who reminds me of a discount Liam Hemsworth. He's Australian, he's tall, he's kind of cut. He's got a little pudgy cheeks, but hey, I don't blame her. He's a good-looking man. Anyway, so after being broken up with Love, Will runs into Love's friend, and he has this really intense experience. He starts poking him with needles and stuff. Will starts recalling all of his childhood things and realizes at the end that he needs to love himself. Now we're moving on to episode 8, and this is probably one of my favorite episodes of this entire season. 40 gets an opportunity to pitch his script to a famous person. He needs Joe to help him. 40 hires some dudes to lock them in this hotel room to write this screenplay. Then it starts to go wrong, and 40 goes to a bar and starts drinking. Will tries to console him, 40 spikes Will's drink with LSD. So most of this episode, Will is tripping on acid, and it's hilarious. We're so used to Will being the sort of character who is in control all of the time and knows what he's doing and knows what's going on in his mind, and in this entire episode, he has no idea what's happening. But here are some other important things that we need to note that happen while all of this is going on. Ellie will have no one if Delilah dies, and so Will decides that he is going to release Delilah after he gets scot-free of all of this, because now Delilah has found all of the dirt on Will. So he gets these handcuffs, and they're set on a timer. He locks Delilah into the handcuffs, locks her to the table, and then he goes off. In 16 hours, Will plans to be gone scot-free, and Delilah promises not to tell anyone about anything that she's found. Alright, so there are a lot of really big reveals that happen in this episode. One, we learn that 40 killed their au pair. The way we find that out is because 40, while he is also tripping on acid, has figured out the whole story of Guinevere Beck and realizes that it's her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, who killed Guinevere Beck in a jealous rage. And he says, I understand that because I did the same thing to the woman that I loved. Joe and 40 have this heart-to-heart, and Joe is like, well, if 40, can do this and can live, he was just a kid, he didn't know. Maybe I can be better too. So this interaction gives Joe hope. Another important thing that we learn in this episode is that Joe killed his own father when he was a baby child. And he killed his father because his father was beating the heck out of his mother. Joe is murdering people because he thinks that he is saving the people that he loves. Therefore, he justifies all of this behavior. And that first murder of his father is sort of what starts his trek into being a serial killer, honestly. He tells 40, you were just a kid, you didn't know what you were doing. And it's almost like he's telling that back to himself. It's okay to forgive yourself. And so, in hope, Joe runs back. He gets there and Delilah is dead. What's interesting about this is that while Will was tripping, he saw blood on his hands multiple times. So he's like, did I kill her? He doesn't really know who killed her. He doesn't think he killed her, but he's the only person who knew she was there. Another funny thing, Will and Love have this conversation. That's when the LSD starts kicking in. Love's eyes get so massive, and she looks like a crazy lemur frog. And to me, she's always looked that way. I was like in and out of sleep when this happened. So I was like, yo, like what's happening to her face? I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. Now, moving into episode 9. The biggest thing to take away from episode 9 is probably the biggest thing to take away from the entire season. Love is a psychopath. Not only is she psychotic, she's a murderer. So the beginning of episode 9, Will is freaking out, trying to figure out who killed Delilah. Ellie is looking for her big sister, can't find Delilah. Finch, the cop that Delilah was sleeping with, is looking for Delilah. 40 is talking to Candace. So they start talking, and Candace puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Will is either killed Delilah or Delilah is in the creepy cage. So Candace finds the cage. She catches Will in the cage with Delilah's dead body, closes the door and locks it up. She says, this is it. You're done. You're going to jail. Let me tell Love. So she has proof, so she knows that you're a murderer and that she needs to get away from you. Love shows up, and Candace is like, your boyfriend's in the cage with the dead body. He killed her. Love, she's all upset. She runs. Candace goes to comfort her, rub her on the back a little bit. Bam. Out of nowhere, Love has a giant broken glass bottle and Candace is out for the count, yo. I really thought Candace was gonna be the bad guy. But more importantly, what the actual heck? Love is a killer? Love just killed Candace. Like, what? 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 I don't even... What? That was insane, okay? Creepy, weird, bizarre. What's wrong with Love? The episode ends there. So now we move on to the last episode in the season, Love Actually. I mean, what brilliant writers, because they completely threw a twist on that. I was thinking that Will actually found Love. The truth is, we figure out who Love is actually. Love goes into this long monologue detailing her history and how she got to the point where she is. And I have hiccups. The truth is, she was the one who killed their au pair when she and 40 were younger. And their family covers it up. Long story short, Love hired that PI not only to keep an eye on Candace, but to keep an eye on Will. She learns all of these things about him. She devours the book that Beck wrote. She's like, oh, you're just like me. Like calls to like. After the weird call, while Will is high, tripping on acid, she's a little worried. She follows Will to the storage unit and finds poor Delilah. Love realizes that Delilah is a threat to them. She's like, that's not going to happen. So she kills Delilah. Poor Delilah is dead. Killed by Love, Will's lover. Will, inside the cage, realizes that he's going to have to convince Love to let him out. It's actually really sad and twisted because he starts thinking the same way Beck did while inside the cage. She opens the door, they talk, it's ready to kill her, and she's like, no, I'm pregnant. Will's like, whoa, are you sure it's my child? Because you was sleeping with that big, beautiful Australian. Will decides not to kill her. Or, Joe. Joe. Whoa. Will is upset. They go to their friend's wedding. Girls, they're talking about how they fell in love and whatnot. And Will's like, I do love you, love. Whatever happens, they can do it together. Maybe we are, ... soulmates. They head back to Anavarin. Ellie is this little girl trapped and stressed and scared. 40 told her to meet her here, but then 40's in Anavarin talking some crazy smack about Joe. Joe's like, listen, don't listen to him. Your sister is gone. She got into some sketchy stuff with the Quins. She gives her some money. He's like, listen, run to Florida, get a different life, start over again. She runs away. 40 holds the gun at Will's head. He's like, listen, bro, you finna die. 40's much smarter than he looks, okay? He says his whole life he's known that Love was crazy. She's just a better liar at it. And I would just like to insert here that I have never liked Love from the beginning because I can spot a killer miles away. That just feels so good. I feel validated. And Finch comes in, the police officer, because he's been following Ellie, and Blottow. Finch shot 40. Love is destroyed. She can't even breathe or think. She's freaking out. And that's pretty much it. Then we get a little bit of a flash forward. We see Ellie. She's gotten to Florida, presumably. Love is pregnant now. She's like pretty big at this point. Will and Love are living in the suburbs now. Will is in his backyard, sipping some juice, opening a book, and he hears a little sound from the other side of the fence, and it's another woman. And Will's wheels start turning again, and he says something like, hello, you. He about to kill another woman. So that's it, guys. That is You Season 2. Hashtag mind blown. Hashtag what the heck. Hashtag oh my gosh. This season was better than the first season. Hands down. So much more twists and turns. What do you guys think about Love being crazy? Now, I know the show is based off of books. Did you know from the beginning that she was going to be this type of girl? Love is psychotic. So do you guys think that Love is crazier than Will? Will is crazier than Love. Mind blown, man. I mean, this just went from 0 to 60. And now we're like, is Will going to start living a Dexter kind of life where he's a serial killer by night and during the day he's a happy husband with children? But he doesn't have to hide it from his wife because his wife is a freaking psychopath as well, and maybe she's going to start killing people with him? What does Season 3 hold for us? We know one thing, that now that Will has a sugar mama in Love, he will never have to worry about making money. And the LAPD will probably never hunt him down or look for him. That was a whole lot. We watched it. We had the jaw-dropping moments. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. Actually, feel free to leave some suggestions on what I should do next, because I definitely am not really sure what to do until The Walking Dead comes back on. Let's get into this in the comments below. Like this video if you like this video, and don't forget to click the bell so that you can be updated on all of the new videos we put out. Yeah, so that's it.